So this is Maine, 2022. My father and I actually hunted on the other side of the road the day before.
Here we go. Got a little snow. See what we can do today. Got a little bit of a late start. It's our first day up to Maine, so just you know, getting all your gear kind of situated. I can never find anything. This is the road I walked out last year and cut my buck track.
I have a hunt I like to do. We'd gotten a small amount of snow and I just wanted to cruise. There's like a winter road that comes up and it goes up on the side of this mountain. There's a big cut. And one of the ways I like to pick up a track is to walk those winter roads because you can cover a lot of ground and, you know, pick up a track from those roads. It's a little bit easier in my opinion than driving the roads and picking up a track, which, you know, I will do. But after a couple hours of seat time, and we were making a good trip anyway over from New Hampshire to get there, so I wasn't going to be driving the roads too much looking for a track. So I made that hunt the first day. I did like a 6 or 7 mile loop. Actually ended up 3 roads down and was lucky enough to get my dad on the radio for him to drive around and get me. It would have been a really long walk. So what we typically do is we try and alternate, like, hey, first day we're going to hunt here, my call. Next day we're going to hunt somewhere else, his call. It wasn't like we made a huge call. We basically said, let's hunt on the other side of the road. He had hunted there the day before and gotten into quite a bit of sign, and so that's what we were going to do. Woke up that morning. It was like a kid in, you know, the candy store. It was like Christmas. There was a snowstorm and got out of the truck. He dropped me off on like the north side of this. It's almost a 3,000 foot mountain. And I mean, I was pumped. I was so excited. Snowing, getting worse throughout the day. And basically there's a big clear cut that takes me on the backside, like I said, north side of this ridge. And I pretty much just hoofed it up there.
We have a segment right now called Life Tips by Travis. Life tip. First off, number 1, don't beat Travis. Because Travis is a fat ass. And Travis is out of shape. Oh man. Seriously though, like, if you take your hunting serious, you gotta tune yourself up a little bit. I just didn't do it. Give you all the excuses in the world as to why. But I'm paying the price now. You know, I always say, you know, you take a ridge like this, when I'm in shape, I'll march up it, and look back and go, oh yeah, I just went up that ridge. Don't have to stop. I've stopped twice already. Just about went tea kettle over ass back there. That didn't help. We managed to save it though. Couple trees, couple limbs. We didn't go down too bad. I tend to skewer myself here and there. Flopping around out here. Rolling around like one of those hay bales out in the Midwest. Just flopping this way, that way. See if I can get my butt up there. Steep and slippery. See, right now I'm acting like I'm looking for a deer. Really what I'm doing is taking a break. But there I go. Jesus. A little serious talk now. When you get to these transitions, go slow and look. panting like a dog.
Probably 2 hours in or so. And I got up to the top and finally started seeing some tracks. And one of them was a buck. I don't think it was anything to write home about, but it was a buck that I was trying to figure out. He'd actually hooked a tree and it was still green. Just about that time, I hadn't heard from my dad at all on the radio. Again, it'd been 2, maybe 3 hours. I heard him on the radio, and he said he'd seen a big buck track, and he thought maybe he had bumped him because he was heading right towards him and kind of spun around, bounded a little, and started to walk. So I'm like, all right, cool. We got something going. His sounded more promising because he said it was a pretty good track. Mine was, I was trying to figure it out. It was snowing pretty good at that time. So even though I think the track wasn't that old, it was already getting pretty snowed in. Just about the time I kind of sorted out what my deer were doing, I hear 2 shots down in the valley.
Well, I just heard 2 shots. I'm into running deer tracks everywhere now.
And called him on the radio, nothing. Called him again, finally he answered me and said, big buck, I think I hit him. And that's all I needed to hear. I, put the radio away and started booking it down through. We use the rhinos, which are quite nice, Garmin product, and it will show you basically where they are on the map. So I just took a bearing on my ball compass and just started heading for him. Got down to where he had shot. Actually, I didn't make it right to that, but just down below it. And I could see where he tracked the deer. I didn't really bother because probably took me over an hour. It was a little more than a mile from him to, get from where I was to where he was. So by the time I got down there, he had been tracking the buck, further. So he was another mile or so from me at that time.
Oh, he's bleeding a little.
So I just went down to the road, ended up seeing him on the road and said, what do you want me to do here? Do you want me to, jump in there and follow him with you? Now, I knew where the deer was headed, and it was a shithole. Like, you don't want to go into this piece of woods. And I also knew that there was a skidder road. So basically, after some short dialogue.
What do you have for a rack? Monster, big fucking thick rack like this. Right up way over his head.
We decided that I was going to run up the road, cut in on this like grassy logging road and see if I get out in front of the buck. And meanwhile, keep in mind for all you people watching here on the YouTube, like I was filming on my GoPro. So we do have some of that you guys are seeing here. But the reason it's a little chopped up is because the GoPro kept shutting off. So there's like 8-second, 8-second, 8-second clips, which I didn't know at the time. I kept looking over my shoulder and you see the little red blinking light. I thought I was getting all this and it was going to be some really spectacular footage. So I apologize. I'll do better next year. Anyway, I end up way out in front of this deer. And again, with these rhinos, I can tell that my dad's heading right towards me. Now I did like a big L, okay? And I'm sitting there and I'm going like, I haven't heard from him for a while, but I can like update on it. And I'm like, he's coming right towards me. This deer is going to be in my lap. Like he's going to push him right to me. And my dad, back up a little bit, my dad had wounded the deer. Now, he was giving me updates as he was tracking it. And I mean, there was some blood, no blood, so it was really spotty. So we knew it wasn't a great hit. And so again, he's coming towards me. I'm sitting there and I kind of stood in a spot for probably a good 20 minutes, I'd say. And he's coming and I'm standing there and he's coming and I'm going, this deer's got to be right here. And all of a sudden I look down through the woods and I moved like 100 yards down just because I get impatient. That's why I can't sit. And I move like 100 yards and I see my dad's orange jacket coming through the trees. So I'm like, crap, he went below me. That's why I missed him. The deer went down below me. So I get to my father and the buck track is coming right up to me. Now again, keep in mind, I just did an L and that buck track is inside the L. How I missed the deer, I'll never know. But that buck walked almost right into me and I never saw him. He stood right where I stood for that 20 minutes. Again, sometimes like it'll pop into my mind at work or before I go to bed and I'm still like, how did I miss that deer? How did I never see him? They can be ghosts. So my dad and I, this is the first time I've seen him. It's probably at least 3 hours since he shot. It's probably 11 o'clock, I'm guessing. And, he's wanting to tell me the story about, how he encountered the buck and he shot and he was bummed and he's like a beautiful tall rack buck. He was just standing there looking at me. the shot he had taken was head on. And so I'm like, Dad, I really want to hear this, but we got to go. This deer is right in front of us. Now this area goes up and there's a big clear cut. I don't know how big, but big. And it goes uphill and it kind of gets plateauy. And then just at the very end of the cut, it goes like straight up into a wall of thick spruce. And so I knew where the deer was heading. So I was like, Dad, let's see if we can catch him in this cut, because this cut's probably from where we're standing at the top of it, almost a mile. And so we started to go and we started to really put the heat to him. Now, my dad's 70, just turned 70 in June. It was snowing, it was blowing. The snow was like sticking to the bottom of his pants. And I'd say we tracked him for just about that mile. We're almost to the top of that clear cut. Passing moose, I was tracking the buck, and again, I thought I had this on footage. There was a cow bedded, and I slowed down, kind of looked at the cow. I'm like, you know what, I'm not even gonna stop. I'm just gonna see if I walk right by her. And I got within about 5 feet of the cow before she stood up. Scared her, pretty funny stuff. But anyway, we keep going, and we get almost 3/4 of the way up that clear cut, and it's sleeting. I mean, at one point, and I think I did get this, I looked in the GoPro and I said, you sure you want to be a buck tracker? Because it was, I mean, the sleet, you had to like squint your eyes because the sleet was just pelting off your face. And it was kind of transitioned into a little bit of sleet and then rain. And, you know, a couple times I said to my dad, I'm like, just, you know, I've looked through the cut. Let's just go. We got to go. And he was getting pretty tired. He's like, you know what? I just feel like our best chance of getting this buck is to send you off on the track, and I'll try and make like swings out in front, and we'll see what happens. So we finally decided that's what we were going to do, and I took off on the track. Again, you never know, but you have this like sixth sense that you're getting close. And again, with what had just happened and how close we had gotten to the buck, I was pretty confident that he was going to be close if I could just close the distance. And he was walking fast, but he wasn't running. And he was starting to kind of meander, like he kind of kept looking at his backtrack. He knew we were behind us, but I also think he was hurt. He was tired, and he wanted to find a place to lay down. I was thinking he was going to be looking for a place to lay down, so I figured just try and put as much mileage on as I could to catch up to the buck. And so I was almost running at the very beginning, and I went up the hill. I mean, I wasn't 200-300 yards from my father, and I look up, and the buck was going up the bank, and I pulled up, and I shot.
Oh, I think I missed. Moose right there.
I racked another one, went to shoot, and the gun wouldn't fire. Now, what had happened was the gun was frozen, and I was wearing these gloves that, like, my hand slipped off the rack, the front forearm of the pump. So I didn't get a second one at him. I should have. I hit the deer in the back of the left rear leg. Now, at the time, I didn't know I did. I basically gained this information from tracking him, because I went up to where I shot, and I didn't go right directly where I shot because the deer went right, so I just kind of went where the deer went. And my father ended up coming up and seeing hair and blood, so that helped. But that buck was going uphill. He never went uphill again, which usually means they're hitting the back leg, because I don't want to go uphill. So he started going left to right across the cut, and now he's going pretty good. He's bounding as good as he can. And again, this cut's huge, but I'm guessing it's a half a mile across. Passing moose, I mean, there's moose everywhere, which kind of got difficult because he got in a barnyard of moose tracks, and I had to sort them out a little bit. Ended up going all the way through the end of this cut, and I get to the transition from where it was kind of open clear cut to just this thick green growth. And I slowed down, and I was scanning, looking for the buck. And I look up, and I see this deer standing there looking at me. Had that buck stature, but I just couldn't put antlers on him. Hunting with my peep gun. I pulled up, and I just put the bead on him. I'm like, I'm going to see bone, and when I do, I'm going to shoot. But I got to see bone, obviously, before I'm going to do that. So I just kept the bead on him. I started blatting. Finally, he took off, and it was so thick, I just sent one after him.
I just shot at him again. I was down there, he was standing up in this stuff. I could see a deer, but I couldn't see antlers.
This is when I found out that my GoPro wasn't filming. So I got right on the edge of that green growth, realized my GoPro wasn't filming, went to take my GoPro off, and the battery door, like when I went to unsnap it again, everything was frozen. It just went flying. Now, I'm used to be a mechanic. Just kidding. Anybody who knows me, I'm not mechanically inclined. So I got frustrated. I couldn't figure out how to put the thing back together. in the bag it went. Sorry, everybody, but that's where the footage stops. So, and oh, by the way, when I got home, I fixed it in like 3 seconds. It was the easiest thing in the world. Anyway, so I get back on the buck track, and now he's in that tight spruce where you can't contort your body to even get through. Pop, tink, you know, when you're trying to get through that stuff.
I'm gonna get this deer, or I'm gonna die on the mountain trying.
And now he starts meandering. I mean, it's only been 1/4 mile from where I shot at him. And I lean around the corner like this because there had like a little bit of a lane, and there he lay, 25 yards from me. But all I could see was his rump and a little bit of the front of him, so I was trying to sneak around the tree when it went tink pop, and down he goes. So he takes bounding off down off the ridge, and it's pretty, I mean, it's still thick. It's getting a little bit better, and I actually jumped off a little bit of a cliff there. Not the smartest thing in the world to do, but we're all right. So we get to the bottom of that, and he's just going. I ended up tracking him this section for probably a good mile or more. I think I bumped him again, but didn't see him because he started to run. He kind of had settled down, then started running again. He actually crossed the hiking trail on the way up and then crossed it again, then ended up crossing a road, and he got into like this beautiful, swaley, open stuff, and I'm like, the snow had calmed down, it had quieted up, so I'm going slow, and I'm like, he's gonna be right here somewhere bedded. He's starting to slow down, and sure enough, I mean, again, I wish I was filming because that buck jumped up 7 feet from me. I mean, it scared me. I was like, oh, you know, and I pull up, boom, boom, and he reacted on the second shot, and I'm like, how is this deer still running? There's more to that story, but anyway. So I take off, tracking the buck, and it gets a little blurry in this section from my memory, but like he went and bedded, and I would sneak up to him. I could see him laying there, and I just couldn't put horns on his head. It's starting to get late in the day now. When I finally got him, it was like 4 o'clock. And I'm going along, and I see him bedded again. He jumps up out of his bed, no shot. He runs left to right at one point, and again, I was having issues with my gun being frozen, and it wasn't racked all the way forward, and it was like the best opportunity to have of the day. He's running right to left, and click, the gun didn't go off. So finally at like, I'd say 3:30, I've shot at him more times. I shot at him like 3 more times. I'd say it's about 3:30, 4 o'clock. I mean, it gets dark at 4:30, especially in the woods. And I said to myself, I need to just slow down. This deer keeps bedding. He's bedded several times now, and I just need to get it done. So I slowed down, and I mean, as painful as it was for me to go slow, and I ended up catching him, and there was like these strip cuts, and I ended up catching him in a strip cut in his bed, and got 2 more into him. And it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't the biggest buck in the world, but it was a really nice, I call him handsome, nice tight rack 8-pointer. Really, really fun hunt. That was the second buck that I'd shot in 2022. I'd shot another nice 8-pointer in New Hampshire, so a lot of fun. I finally ended up getting my dad on the radio because we had lost radio contact, and I was probably 5 miles from where our truck was parked, so ended up being a really late night and an arduous drag up out of this very difficult area, but fun hunt. I hope you guys enjoy the footage, and make sure to hit that subscribe button on Northwoods Whitetails.
Well, hanging out at camp, shot my New Hampshire deer, and shot my Maine deer yesterday. So I'm done for a little while. Nice big buck right there in the back of the truck. That's what you like to see. Such a fun hunt. I think I counted, I shot 11 times, and we got them. Nice tall tines, nice big brows, nice racker. We'll take them. Yeah, it was, I got a little bit of it on video, so hopefully you guys will be able to enjoy that at some point. Just keep checking out Northwoods Whitetails.